Hey guys, it's Caleb and I'm sitting in front of this awesome plant here behind me. This is called a Caigua, and although right now it looks completely terrible because it got hit by a frost last night, it's been an awesome looking plant all through the summer, and it grows these awesome fruits that you can eat like a vegetable. So I'm excited to share with you more about this plant, go through the process of growing it from start to finish. So anyway, let's head on back to when these guys were just little seeds, and the seeds look really fascinating. So we'll start there and then we'll head on through the whole process of growing this plant right through to harvest. Alright, so these are the seeds, and as you can see they do look really bizarre, really strange looking seeds. I reckon they almost look like an ancient artifact or maybe like a piece of tree bark or something like that. They just look really weird. But I do need a place to put these, and since my veggie garden is completely full, I'm just going to place some cardboard down over this area here, and this is just going to suppress any grass and weeds, and then I'm just going to put some compost over the top to create a new garden to plant these into. So Caigua is a vining plant that likes to climb, so I'm just driving some bamboo stakes into the ground in the shape of a circle and then just tying the tops together with some string to make a TP shape. I'm also just wrapping some natural twine around the structure all the way up just to give the vines something to climb up. For planting the seeds, you can get them going in pots first if you like, but you just want to make sure you're not exposing them to any frost. They won't handle that, so keep them somewhere protected. For me, it's late spring at the moment, so I'm just going to plant them directly in the ground. There's not going to be any more frosts, and the ground should be warm enough now for them to germinate and grow well. Alright, so both of the seedlings have sprouted. I'm really stoked with that, and they've just got their little cotyledons at the moment, their little seed leaves, so hopefully it won't be long before we start to see their true leaves start to form. Okay, so far these plants have been pretty slow going in terms of their growth, and they've also been looking a little bit yellow. They're starting to come right now. I'm thinking it might have been like a watering issue, but I'm not entirely sure. You can also see that they've got little tendrils coming out, so they are wanting to climb, and I'm hoping now that the weather's a bit warmer that they really start to take off and reach to the top of the structure. Alright, check this out guys, the Caigua vine has reached the top of the bamboo, and the foliage is looking a lot healthier too now, really nice and green. These do have a similar leaf shape to another type of plant, so it can make you look a little bit suspicious growing this, but it's all good guys, we're just growing a stuffing cucumber. But we've also got some flowers forming, and with the Caigua they're self-pollinating, and they've got separate male and female flowers. So the male flowers are all these ones here. They seem to grow in groups of maybe 10 or 20 flowers out on their own stalk, whereas the female flowers are solitary and they grow as just a single flower directly out of the stem of the plant. And you can also see with the female flowers that they have a little fruit in behind the flower, so these are the ones that are actually going to produce the fruit that we want, and yeah, it's really easy to tell them apart. Alright guys, so the Caigua is looking awesome. It's completely taken over the structure now, and it's actually sprawling over the tangelo tree down there as well. And so I've just added this piece of bamboo so that it can at least grow that way, or at least some of it. But yeah, if you want to grow these, you can definitely grow them on quite a large structure because they'll just continue getting massive. And right now it's got a ton of flowers and it is fruiting as well. As you can see, it's got these little Caiguas all over it, or slipper gourds, or whatever you want to call them. But at this stage they are just smaller. I will leave some to get much larger so that I can then cook them, and I'll show you them when they're at their big size. But when they're small, you can eat them raw, and so today I thought I'd just show you kind of the best time to eat them, because there is almost like a sweet spot where you don't want to let them get too big, or you don't want to eat them when they're too small either. So these ones over here, I would say that one there is probably slightly too big, but I'll take it off and I'll just check. Yeah. So yeah, that right there is just a little bit too big. Once they get to this size, the skin goes a lot thicker, a lot tougher, and they start to develop the seeds as well. Once the seeds start to develop, they go a bit hard, and you sort of don't really want that. So this is a few that I've just picked here just to show you the different sizes. This one here is only just a little bit smaller than the one I just bit into and showed you that I said was slightly too far. So this right here is probably the biggest that I'd eat them raw, and that's because the seeds haven't hardened yet, so you don't really notice them. And they also haven't developed the hollowness and the tough skin that they get as the fruit matures. It's pretty nice. These have the flavour of cucumber mixed with green bean, I would say. That's the closest thing I'd compare it to. As for these other ones, this is kind of the stage that I prefer them at. It's a little bit smaller than the one we just had, and I reckon that's about optimal of when you want to eat them. That's the inside just there. Really quite nice. It's a little bit juicy, but it's not juicy like a cucumber is. It's more like a green bean in texture, I would say, with the flavour of a cucumber. This, I would say, is too small to harvest and eat just like that. What I find is when they're this more darker green colour, they are actually quite bitter. So I will bite into it. Texture is fine, but they are just a bit bitter, so let them get a bit bigger, let them get to about that size there, even just a little bit bigger than that, and they'll be totally good to eat fresh. You can chuck these in a salad, you can chop them up, put them into whatever you want. Really good to eat nice and raw. Another thing I've noticed with this plant that's pretty cool is the amount of insects it's been attracting, and not necessarily just the pollinating insects like the bees and the wasps, which are just here because of the masses of flowers, but the plant's also providing habitat for little spiders and insects because the plant grows quite densely and creates this awesome little environment in there. I also saw this little insect in here too, which I have no idea what it is, so if anyone knows, then let me know down in the comments. I'd be interested to find out. And yeah, as well as just providing all these benefits to wildlife in the garden, it also adds some vertical height or vertical greenery to your garden. So yeah, thumbs up from me. So to maximise the harvest you get from this plant, it's a bit like beans, where the more of the young fruits you harvest, the more fruit that the plant is going to produce. So just keep picking them and using them at that smaller size, but if you want some for cooking or stuffing, then just leave those on the plant to get to that larger size. So I've ended up leaving a lot of the fruit on the plant to get to full size so that we can cook some up and see how they go. And even the vines scrambling over the ground have a ton of Caiguas growing on them. So let's go through, pick some of the fruit off, and we'll get some seeds out, and I'll also show you some of the things you can do with the mature fruits. Okay, so we've got some here, and some have these little spines on them, but throughout all the stages of growing, the spines are fairly soft, and I don't really mind them at all. They're totally fine to eat just like that. As you can see, the seeds have matured now and turned black, and they have that cool arrowhead shape to them. So I'll just leave these out to dry off for a little bit, and then I'll store them in an envelope ready for next spring. The fruits themselves at this stage are clearly very tough, and you wouldn't eat them raw just like this, but when you cook them, believe it or not, it actually turns into a veggie that resembles capsicum or bell peppers, and not only just in how it looks, but also how it tastes, and the texture is similar too. So it's a very versatile veggie to cook with. We've used them in stir fries and curries, which works well, and today I'm just chucking some onto a pizza as an alternative to capsicum. Since another name for these is stuffing cucumber, I figured I may as well have a go at doing that too. I think these will often be stuffed whole after removing the seeds, but I'm just doing mine in halves and filling them up with a spicy bean taco mixture sort of thing, topping them off with cheese, and I'm just going to bake them in the oven. These are done now, and they turned out pretty good, and they're quite a cool little snack sized meal, and the pizza turned out pretty good too. I think the Caigua worked really well on it and did just taste a lot like capsicum. And yes, that is also pineapple on the pizza, so sorry to all you pineapple haters out there. Overall, I've really enjoyed growing these Caigua fruits, and I've since done some research and found that these have actually been cultivated since ancient times, back like more than 1,000 years ago by the Moche civilization in South America. And they actually have depicted these fruits in their like pottery and ceramics and things like that. And also remnants of these plants have been found buried in archaeological sites on the Peruvian coast. So some very interesting history that these have over in South America. And they're also said to have like a lot of medicinal uses too. So I'll put some more information about that down in the description box below. These also appeared to have very little issues with pests and diseases. And although these plants grow very large, because they're a climber, growing them vertically means you can grow these in fairly small gardens, and you can always trim them back if you need to. And the good thing is that the leaves and the young shoots are edible too, so you can get an extra harvest out of that. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and that it's inspired you to have a go at growing something a little bit different. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up down below and let me know what you thought of it. But otherwise, hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.